A trip to Sweden to hunt driven boar is not my typical adventure.
Pretty cool. Making memories. Hunting in Sweden.
I've done my share of hunts. This one's different.
Your eyes are always going. Your ears are always going. The flap of a wing sends your heart rate through the roof.
It's fast, unpredictable, and you've got to be on your toes every second. Prepared for the explosion of adrenaline that comes when an animal appears. Waking up on the morning of the hunt, we had been treated to a covering of snow. Whether we saw animals or not, we were gonna have a magical day.
Welcome to Sweden, guys. I'm out here on my first ever Scandinavian driven hunt. And as you can see, the weather couldn't be more picturesque. Aimpoint very kindly invited me on this, and honestly, how could you not say yes? Yesterday was a fascinating day. We got to learn all about how to use one of these. And I've been through some of that training before, but actually spending time with Eric to really learn how to shoot freehand to the best possible standard was, well, it paid dividends. In the range, we were taking comfortable, confident 30-meter shots on static targets freehand with guaranteed success. And that's sort of using breathing and muscles, and each person learning what worked for them. It was important to me to have training before going out. I've shot driven big game before, but it's been a while. I wouldn't go out and shoot pheasants without having a shot at clays first. The training ensures higher success on a hunt, especially when you're a relatively new shooter, and I am completely naive and novice when it comes to driven big game. Having done a couple of days does not an expert make, unfortunately. I left that range so full of excitement and feeling a little bit more ready, although not entirely ready for what was to come. It's the real thing. I'm a little nervous. There's a lot of rules, way more rules than with pheasant shooting. We're allowed one big fallow buck and one big red stag between us, and no wild boar over 85 kilos. Guys, we'll catch up in a bit. Let's hunt. We woke up in our hotel early in the morning and headed to the most beautiful big Swedish house at the centre of a grand old estate. Part of travelling to hunt and part of going to new places to hunt is the discovery. We met the team, we had our brief in the morning. For those who've had a safety brief in pheasant shooting, it's not like that. They're going to list off all the species you can and can't hunt, rules for what you can and can't shoot, as well as reading out the basic safety stuff. Each of us were equipped with a radio, and that was chattering away all day in English, Swedish and Swinglish, just so that everyone knew what was going on. When you're so isolated away from the rest of the group, it's really important that you keep abreast of what's going on, especially when there's limits in place, which there was on both of these days. It was a bizarre experience, right, to be so ready and so excited for the day, but so calm at being in this beautiful, beautiful place. The shooting lanes that we had, I sort of assessed those as we went in. We had sort of 40 yards to our left, 40 yards to our right, and some thick woods to our back. Once I sort of read and assessed the situation as best as a novice could, It was about sitting and waiting and sort of soaking in the beauty of the snow and the trees, listening in the distance for the barks of dogs, watching as the odd beater walked past, and occasionally, just occasionally, getting super excited over the sound of some moving undergrowth. Saw those 5-row, loads of geese, loads of birds, just a wonderful few hours spent in the Swedish woods. Did see 6 fallow. They ran and stopped about 60 meters that way. The only one that presented any kind of shot was a mature doe, and we're under instructions to shoot juveniles first, or followers first, so it's always a better safe than sorry thing with that, right? All of the training we've done in the simulator isn't going to outweigh my lifetime of stalking in England, where you don't sort of take any of those semi-risks, and so my no-go said no-go. I think I enjoyed that just as much without pulling the trigger. We got in the vehicles and headed back to the big house, where we counted in what we'd seen and what we'd shot. This is vital information for the gamekeepers on the estate, because they need to know what you've shot at, so they know if they need to look for a wounded animal, and more importantly, gives them an idea of numbers. Brings into play the actual management practice that this is. You also get to catch up with the other hunters, which I think is actually really important. Given that you're so isolated in that peg with only a radio, and you're trying to keep that relatively quiet because you talk and you might scare something off, at the end you get to find out who fired the shots, who saw what experiences they had in their seat. Storytelling around a campfire is a hunting tradition as old as humanity, and every time I get to have a little piece of it, it does make me happy. We loaded up our gear and headed off to the second drive. Welcome to the second drive. The sun has melted away a lot of the snow. There's a harsh low sun coming through all the trees, which makes everything look like an animal. This peg is a little bit more interesting. A lot more visibility, potential for longer shots down this side, and we're on this raised bank. So whereas before we had sort of safety concerns out to 2 directions, here we've got great backstops on every front. So bolt 1, bolt 2 and bolt 3. Someone's just had a shot. Let's pay some attention. This second drive was as perfect a setting for a high seat on a driven game shoot as I can ever imagine. With those dreams of animals to come, we sit and we waited. Sounds like Alexander shot the big male fallow deer, so the male fallow is now off the menu. Still a big red stag out there for us though. Fingers crossed. The dog was too close to that. And again, you're not looking to hurt anyone's dog. Not only because it's a pretty awful thing to do, but there's also a €10,000 fine if you shoot somebody's dog. But that was the perfect boar for shooting. Small, about 50 kilos. And just like that, beat 2 is over. This really was a beautiful stand, but just wasn't meant to be. Saw that one boar coming over the hill, but it had a dog attached, and there's a 15-meter gap you need between the animal and the dog just for safety. And I mean, they were connected, so that was a no. Heard a lot of shooting, heard the big fallows being shot, and we got one more beat left today. I guess it's kind of a privilege to be out here and be a part of this, and as much as it would be cool to kill my first animal in this first experience, you only get firsts once, so if we've got to come back and do it again, we will. It's easy to say. Of course, it'd be nice also to be drowning in-game. Drowning in-game just is not the reality of hunting driven big game in wild places. There's a beauty in an unsuccessful hunt. It just makes the success better when it comes. Honestly, I think if I couldn't enjoy an experience like that, with the people and the place and the just seeing of animals, I think I'd need to sort of have a serious word with myself. It was such a fantastic experience up until this point, but we still had one drive to go. There's all to play for at this point during the day. Joseph had a great drive on the last drive. One of the guys who's with us. He shot his first ever fallow buck, really nice one. And a big Kylo, big male boar, and a little 50 kilo boar as well. He had an absolutely great time. A lot of other people didn't see too much. This snow came in last night out of nowhere. It was supposed to be raining today. And actually, you gotta think, none of these animals can see the forecast. And so when it snows like this, it kind of ruins their entire routine. They don't know that it's gonna melt off by the end of the day. Which has made it real hard for these guys. It's been a strong northerly wind, which means the animals don't go in the usual places. It's been snowy, and so trying to get around them and actually move them in the usual ways has been quite tough. This looks good. We're told this bit of the woods has some red deer in it. We've got a short shooting window there, short shooting window there, and a nice sort of close 25-metre circle this side. So let's get settled in. We're probably the first people to get dropped off, so it's going to be a while before the drive gets started, but you never know what's going to happen. Sitting in a high seat for 2.5 hours is more exhausting than you might think. You see so many glimpses of animals in distant trees. Was it a dog? Was it a deer? Was it a boar? You never really know, but you know that as soon as you see something, bang, you get the rifle ready and you start preparing your thoughts, planning where it might come out. The whole process is exciting with these little peaks of super excitement. It was so fulfilling to be out there. You know, I've said before, we evolved to be hunters. It was getting towards the end of the drive. The batteries died in the camera, and as they were being changed, a boar ran out of the bush in front. Something that I think I saw run into that bush early on. And I just grabbed my rifle, and as it ran, quartering left to right in front of me, shot it. I guess as much as I'm sad that I couldn't share that moment with you, that one is just for me, and that's okay. This whole scenario played out seconds before the final horn went and the day was called to an end.
That was a experience. Hunting in Sweden, where my family is from. With a bunch of great guys, it snowed the night before. I don't think it could have been more how I dreamt of it. Patience is a virtue, and one I am blessed with in spades. We're going to have dinner with the guys. It's a bit of a private party, so I'll see you in the morning.
The day ended with a parade. They display a selection of each of the species shot. The reason they don't do a full parade is because there's vans lining up after every drive to take that meat away. It's a valuable commodity, so it's not just left out in the cold. It's taken and processed and looked after properly. You thank the gamekeepers, thank the beaters, and we headed back for a private dinner, which was absolutely delicious, sharing all the stories from the day and having a few beers and a good laugh. But not too many, because we were up early to get to the next day of hunting.
What's the plan today?
Finish this sandwich, then we'll go hunting.
It was snowing overnight and it was snowing on the way there.
Listen up, we do
The last day had been so perfect, I would have been happy to walk away from this day empty-handed, to just go and see some more Sweden and learn more about how these things work. We saw deer pulling into the estate, we stopped, we had the safety brief, the readout of the rules, met the beaters, and we headed out to our drive. We left the door open all the way there, letting the bitter cold air in so that we could be as quiet and stealthy as possible when we got to that point. Given we'd seen deer in these fields, we were all pretty excited. As soon as we got up into the seat, deer started to move on the horizon. They were everywhere. Welcome to the second drive. We have seen a lot of fallow deer. About 600 yards that way, they sort of ran just north of Alex. They ran into Alex, he stopped them and took a shot. I think he was hoping that he'd bump them on to continue into us, but they all turned and ran all the way around these two farms and came out 300 yards over there. It's actually really enjoyable as a novice just to watch all this unfold. It is a glorious morning to be out. It's been snowing. It's never a bad day with a gun in your hand. Finally, I got a radio call from Alex next door saying some deer were headed our way. They've stopped in the valley, but they are, for the first time, actually running in this direction. Early in the drive, I got the radio call saying the big fallow buck had been shot for the day, so there were no more mature fallow, but luckily in this group was a small spiker. These fallow bucks were some of the best I've ever seen. Huge palmated animals walking slowly across the field with the confidence only a master buck can have. Behind them trailed this little spiker. I was willing him in closer and closer. When they started to walk up the bank, I took my opportunity.
Well, that all went from seeing them very far to seeing them come in. So all those animals come over the horizon. They walked in front of Alexander, 3 master bucks and a spiker. And I watched them go past. I don't know what they looked like to him. And then he radioed in, he said, there is a spiker in there. Focus on it if you get a shot. The 2 master bucks were leading sort of 50, 60 meters ahead. And they came into within 50 meters of us. They just started to turn, but the other 2 were still behind. And as they turned to cross through the hedge, I think they didn't see us, but they sensed us for sure, even though we were dead still. They calmly walked left towards the hedge, and the other 2 at the back, a slightly smaller buck, still a master buck, still a monster, and the spiker turned and walked up. And at that point, I was like, this is the opportunity. The first shot dropped its back end, bang. Everything about that, from my experience, tells me that deer was going down. But I am also aware that culturally here, you want it to be dead on the floor exactly where it is. I think if it had have decided to use its last breath, it might have made it to the hedge, but I wanted to see it fall on the floor, so we reloaded quickly. Bang, put another one in it. Happy days. 2 more beats to go. And so this one isn't done yet.
I sat there enjoying the experience without any anxiety or worry or stress. As deer ran around behind us, I just smiled and waved them goodbye. I don't think this could have been a better start to the day.
The beat is over, guys. We've got 2 more today. That was awesome, a bit like yesterday in terms of just sitting around and enjoying being in Swedish nature. We're going to go and check out this fallow spiker now. I'm going to pace it out. I think it's further than I think it is, but as I said, I got confidence in this platform. I know it's not my gun, I borrowed this from Madeline. It's a BRX-1 in 308. Perfect tool for the job, and without a moderator on and with the aim-point acro, the whole unit just handles very naturally like a shotgun, which, as you know, is something I'm quite familiar with. 5-shot mag loaded with 165 grain ballistic tips, and most importantly, it's going to be lightweight whilst I'm carrying this deer out. Let's go, guys. Got some work to do. Two exit wounds right behind the shoulder are an inch apart, and the two entry wounds on the front side are an inch apart. So I think we can say that was some pretty straight shooting for 128 paces. And I've got big legs, I'm 6'7". I'd say that was, in my head, all of 120 meters. It's a fascinating thing to sort of have that zero zoom. Usually I like to be like real pinpoint, but you can't see any jitters, you can't see any micro shakes. There is a confidence and a trust. And Eric, in the training 2 days ago, talked all about trusting your eyes and just not letting your brain get in the way of the training, and the fact that you know when to pull the trigger. Same as a shotgun. He put it into my kind of language. When you're shooting a fast trap bird, you see it, move the gun, shoot it. You don't think. If you think, you miss. And there is a mental process, but it's just trusting that your eyes and your hands will work together. And they did. Definitely didn't need the second shot in the end, but, well, we're in Sweden. And when in Sweden, do as the Swedes do. Put it on the floor. First Swedish fallow. Let's drag him out. Let's get him back to the seat.
We headed off from the drive to go and have a drink and a snack. Like I said, traveling to hunt is such a unique experience. Mixed with different cultures, we had people from all over Europe and America joining us together, all different age groups and backgrounds. Mixing all that up with such a beautiful place, it was just amazing. Eventually though, we had to saddle up and head to the next drive. As I walked up the hill and got into the high seat, things got busy very quickly.
The second drive got off to a really quick start. We got into the seat and within a minute, a big herd of fallows sat on the top of the hill, some bucks, some does. Then a little group of pigs came down, big female wild boar followed by 7 followers, ran up, crested the hill but with no backstop, perfectly aligned, ran into the woods. And as they were moving, I took a shot straight in front of the first one. Reloaded, they turned, came out of the woods. Bang. I made sure I tracked the same pig just in case it was a wound. Made sure that's the one I dropped, which is actually incredibly hard because they're all the same size and same shape, but luckily they were in a line. That went real quick, and then those fallow run up to the next seat up. He had 2 shots. And then we've seen a couple of boar in the distance, females with followers, moving across the horizon. Quite like the open. I mean, you can't shoot at a lot what you see, but you do get to see more, which is kind of cool.
And the animals just didn't stop coming. Fallow on the horizon, red deer behind. Big wild boar running across the horizon using the dips to work at the ground.
Saw a huge boar come out of there. Walk up, but it went on the skyline between me and the guy in the next stand.
Roe deer running towards us, realizing we were human and running away. And then from behind, another bunch of boar burst out of the bushes. yards away.
That got really, really, really exciting very, very quick.
Going down to retrieve the animals, I ran through the sequence of things that happened in my head.
And to think I got in this seat and thought, I don't know. But I guess that's hunter's luck, right?
It was all very fast. It's an experience that I can't describe. That single boar on the first day gave me all the time in the world, and I couldn't have asked for a better opportunity. The fallow deer, I'm experienced with fallow deer. I kind of knew what was going on. I know what they do, I know what they act like. But when those boar ran out, my heart and my brain just went electric. The moment seemed to last minutes when it was actually over in seconds. I'd have loved to have placed the shots better, but at the end of the day, I followed through, I made sure every animal was dead on the floor, and I'm not unhappy with the result. It's a good experience, I think, to see what happens when things don't go perfectly early on. It highlights for me the need for training and the need for repetition to really be good at this kind of thing.
I took the opportunity to experience the last drive alone.
Welcome to the last drive. The edge paid off on the last drive. I'm still on a bit of a calm down from that.
Wanting to get the full experience of being out in the cold forest but nothing with the sights, sounds and your own thoughts for company.
Such an interesting thing to go from practice to reality with the driven boar. When the wild boar come running through, oh wow, what a feeling. It's like my first ever hunt, you know, and that counts for a lot.
In the silence, you listen to the land. The dogs barking in the distance, or the rustle of leaves behind you, is all it takes for the adrenaline to start creeping in.
So there is a pig. We just had 3 run through, a big black female and 2 smaller, browner boar. And the rule is don't shoot the first one. I'm now really paranoid that it's over 85 kilos because Emil said if it's brown, it's good. That is a brown looking boar to me. It's €1,000 fine if I got that wrong.
The boar itself is a creature that's as wild as the earth it roams. It embodies the raw, untamed nature of the world we've tried so hard to tame.
Just had another big run through that valley, sort of 100 meters. And then they always stop up there on the horizon with the barn behind.
Entering into its world, you understand something. The land is alive.
This has been an amazing experience.
And if you're fortunate enough to walk away from it with something physical to show, it's because the land has allowed it.
You learn something new every trip. Whether that's hunting culture stuff, meeting new friends, learning about new people. Testing theories of equipment. I've reviewed a lot of rifles, I've done a lot of things, but every new experience makes me wiser about why they design things the way they're designed, right? Really enjoyed the red dot. I was skeptical as to how long a range I'd be comfortable shooting at, but never in doubt. Like, there's a real interesting trust you can use. The beat is over. I
think we got away with this bore not being 85. What an amazing experience. Let's drag this bore out and go home.
Thanks for joining me on this adventure, guys. It's been one to remember.
My thanks go to everybody who made this trip possible. From Aimpoint for inviting me, to Beretta to sorting a gun to use, to the keepers for running such an amazing day, for the other hunters for sharing that experience with me and forging new friendships, and to the beaters as well. Without them, these days definitely don't happen. And obviously to you for watching. Thanks guys, take care, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching TGS Outdoors. I hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, like it, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and share it with your friends. This channel would not exist without the support of our amazing sponsors. They really do keep this content coming week after week. Thank you also to our channel members. You guys are amazing. If you want to know more about channel membership, there's a join button down there. Click it, you get some free extra content, you get early releases, occasionally we get together and shoot some clays. Take care guys, we'll catch you soon.